It's me, Vicky Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. So, this week we have a new Pope, and that's what we're going to talk about. You know, we do this Sunday service, a little dose of positivity, a break away from true crime, which can be a bit grim, of course. And so on a Sunday, we try and do something more positive. And I thought, what could be more positive, really? And it ties in with the sort of Sunday service theme. Even though, as you know, if you watch me regularly, this is not about religion, the Sunday service. It's just about a bit of positivity. It's not about, it doesn't matter which God you pray to, or if you don't even pray to a God, if you believe in maybe higher power, maybe you don't believe in anything, but you will believe in positivity, I'm sure. And but today, because we've had sort of a historical week of a new Pope being voted in, I wanted to have a look at Pope Leo, because although I'm not a Catholic, and I'm a little bit sort of like that about the Vatican and this, that, well, a lot, to be honest. I don't like all those riches in the church. But having said that, this is a momentous thing for millions of people all over the world. There are millions of Catholics who do revere the Pope, and the Pope can have a very positive effect on the world, whether you're a Catholic or not. And the Pope that we had before, Pope Francis, although, as I say, I'm not a religious person, I think as far as popes go, he was a progressive Pope. He was kind. He talked about inclusiveness of everybody in the church. And he did, the church did grow about 10% under his papacy. Even though, all the bad things about the church, the scandals, etc. Those things are still ongoing. I think a lot of people have lost a lot of trust. People who are probably brought up as Catholics and to revere priests and etc. have been very disillusioned, haven't they? So it's up to the Pope to lead that sort of re-establishment of the church as a force for good. And of course, for any of you out there who may be a little bit anti-Muslim, people moaning about the Muslims or Islam or whatever. But you know what? People who are Muslims or Islamists, they believe in their God and they worship their God. And, if you want Christianity or Catholicism to become a force again, then you should go to church and you should practice religion. Most Muslims, Islamists, they're not mad sort of bombers or whatever. They're just normal people leading normal lives, and they're kind people, good people. It's good and bad in every religion. So if you believe in your religion, you have to go to church and you have to support it. If you don't believe in a religion, that's fine. Many people think you don't have to go to church to pray. But having said that, there is something about a church, isn't it? Even for a bit of a cynic like me, who I do believe in God, but I don't believe in religion. There's something about a church, isn't it? When you go in a church, the calmness, there's a peace around it. So there is something about getting together and praying as well. It's that synergy of whether you believe in the prayer side of it, whether you believe in Christ, whether you believe in, I don't know, whatever. There's something about that synergy of people getting together and praying, isn't there? There's something about it. You can't really deny the prayer. It helps, might not change things, but it feels good. Feels good to think that somebody's praying for you, isn't it? The positivity, the good vibes that it sends out. It can't be a bad thing, is what I'm saying. So today, that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about Pope Leo, Leo the 14th, I think it is, or hope I've got that right. So we're going to pontificate about the pontificate. So I've been practicing that line for ages and it didn't come out right. But yeah, we're going to see what is he about, who is he, what's his history. And first of all, I'm going to light a candle, one for Pope Leo to wish him luck, because he'll need it. He'll definitely need it. It's that, I hope he's going to do something positive with his papacy. Researching what I've researched about him this morning, I do have a positive thought about it. I think he seems like a kind man who, he's given his life to the church. We're going to hear his brother speaking. Apparently when his brother was like playing cowboys and Indians and that when he was a kid, Pope Leo, he just wanted to, he asked him, can I practice communion with, he was always a religious person ever since he was a child. He seemed to have a genuine calling. Some people do get a calling. And as I say, while Pope Leo's brother was, I think his real name is Robert, isn't it? While Pope Leo's brother was playing cowboys and Indians, he was trying to bless him and give him communion. And you can imagine he got a lot of stick for that as a child. But that's how far his calling went, right from when he was a child. So this first candle is for Pope Leo. I wish him luck in his papacy. I hope he can make a difference in this mad world. Certainly needs somebody to do it. And I do think, the signs are good so far, because of course there's a big fuss from the Americans, an American Pope, an American Pope. And let's not forget, he came out of nowhere. He wasn't even talked about as a possible successor to Francis. Francis has got big shoes to fill because he was popular, as I say, even with people like me who aren't religious. I think most people had a respect for Francis, that he was a progressive Pope. But this guy, he came out of nowhere. He wasn't tipped to be the Pope. He wasn't even considered to be the Pope. So, of course, he's a great, initially, I think it's wearing off a little bit now because of now they're finding out more about Leo. It was, you can imagine, I thought, oh God, Donald Trump's going to be absolutely insufferable. The first American Pope. But actually, when you look into it, Leo, he is not really American, not American, he's an immigrant. His family were immigrants. I mean, I just find this ironic. He's from Peru, really. That's where his family are from, so he was an American immigrant. And now in this climate of hating all immigrants, would Pope Leo's family have been able to go? I mean, America's built on immigrants anyway, so I'm not even going to go into that because it gets all political. But yeah, now it's turning out. So of course he is really more South American than American, but he does cross the I think he was actually born in America, which is good. He hasn't spent much time in America because he's been a missionary all over the world. He's been his career, if you like, his ecclesiastical career, he's been all over the world, but most notably as a missionary. He spent a lot of time as a missionary. And of course, when he first spoke, we're going to see, he spoke in Italian, he spoke in Spanish. Oh, so the Spanish are claiming him as well, because one of his parents, I think, is Spanish. So everybody's trying to claim a little bit of him. Oh, he's a Spanish descent Pope. Everyone's trying to claim a little bit of him. But anyway, it doesn't matter. What matters is what he does with his papacy, of course. And he's already, people have been looking back through his tweets. He's a tweeter. He's got an account on X, or what was Twitter, and he's tweeted quite often, about he's not happy with JD Vance or Trump and this immigration policy. He speaks out quite vociferously against war, of course, the war in Ukraine. And he's a big, Pope Francis thought a lot of him. He was only elected to be a cardinal a couple of years ago. It's Pope Francis, really, that has advanced his ecclesiastical career. But he's an intelligent guy. He's a canon lawyer, also. He's done a lot of studying. he's a probably the best. You know, if I had to choose someone, which obviously I don't know that much about them, but he would have been. He's a good choice in my opinion. To try and, because the church apparently, I didn't know, but they're in financial trouble, because people have turned away from the Catholic Church for various reasons, probably because of, you know, the scandals and things like that. Anyway, I'm going to light another candle before I forget, and this is for us, for all of us that need it. For those of you out there who are having problems, financial problems, relationship problems, just feeling generally fed up, maybe employment problems, children problems, mental health problems, physical health problems, there's a million things that can affect our lives, aren't they? So this candle is for us because we all need a candle lighting for us, and we all need positive thoughts and positive prayers, don't we? Just, you know, even sometimes they're not even mega big things that are getting us down in the scheme of things, but they're still important to us. You know, our problems are important, even if it's just might seem a small problem to someone else, or maybe we think that. Sometimes we think, well, I do anyway, you know, when I'm praying, like and I think, oh God, I can't pray for that because really there's so many people got so many more difficult things going on, and it's like, that's just a little thing, I shouldn't pray for that, whatever it is. But that's not true. We should pray for whatever we need help with, even if it's a tiny, tiny little thing, maybe in the grand scheme of things. If it's not a matter of life or death, or it's not physical health, we shouldn't feel guilty about asking for help from whoever our higher power is, because you know, that we shouldn't feel guilty, like, oh, that doesn't, you know, it doesn't really matter. It does matter. It matters to us. If it's bringing us down, whatever it is, however small it is, maybe other people might think it's a small matter, but to us it's a big matter, you know. And there are things, we all worry about different things, don't we? There are things that I wouldn't worry about, you know, because of my life experience. But then there are other things that I'll worry about, and somebody else would say to me, what are you worrying about that for? That doesn't matter. You know, so that's what we've got to understand. Our problems are important to us. We shouldn't feel bad about asking for help. It's difficult to ask for help. Nobody finds it harder than me, believe me, to ask for help. But sometimes you need help. You can't do things on your own. You need at least someone to talk to, some sort of distraction from whatever it is that's going on. And you should not feel bad about that. So that second candle is for all of us for that reason. Okay, hello lurkers. Thanks for watching. Hello replay crew. Thanks for watching too. And of course, thanks all for watching my videos, liking, subscribing. Special thanks as always to my members. Anyone who's bought me a Ko-fi, sent me a PayPal, sent me a super sticker, sent me a nice email. I'm a little bit behind with my emails at the moment. I haven't looked at them for a couple of days. I will get onto them, but thank you for all that have left a nice message. Yeah, just thank you. Thank you for supporting my channel. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. These are free ways you can help support my channel if you like watching it. If you don't like watching it, adios. Okay, now I'm going to say hello to the people that are brave enough to venture into chat. Remember to be respectful in chat. Most of my chatters are, otherwise they know. Well, I don't even have to tell my regular chatters to be respectful. But I just want to remind that we don't mention other YouTubers on the channel. Because, you know, it nearly happened to me this morning. Somebody, you know, I don't want to get into comments about other YouTubers. I don't have any issue with any YouTubers as long as they don't say anything horrible about me. But I prefer that names are not mentioned on my channel. But anyway, it's just to avoid controversy, drama, all those kind of things that we don't have on this channel. So now I'm going to come in and say hello to the people that are on the chat, in the chat. Good morning, Tracy. Hope you're well. Hi, Yvonne. Hope you're well. Hope you're feeling a bit better. You were a bit fed up the other week. Hi, Angel. Just woke up. Oh, hi, Yvonne. Drifted back to sleep. I'll send you to sleep again, Yvonne. I'll soon send you back to sleep. Thank you, Angel. Yeah, I think there are always adverts, Angel. I don't know. I have no idea because I don't, obviously, I've got YouTube Premium, which is really good, worth every penny, I'll tell you. Hi, Wesley. Okay, so let's have a look. Let's have a little pontificate about this pontificate. Now, so I've just said a little bit about his history. Let's have a look at what his brother had to say. Must be quite weird, isn't it, when your brother gets made the Pope? You know, it's just like I mean, I don't know how you talk to the Pope. Like, what does he go around on Thanksgiving and they have like a party and he has turkey and and do they have like crackers or you just can't imagine having the Pope sat at your. I mean, I suppose he doesn't go to family gatherings now. I just don't know. Just imagining what it'd be like having the Pope as your brother or any relative. It's like it must be a bit surreal, really. Anyway, so of course everyone wants to speak to his brother now. Uh, so he's sort of become. I mean, it'll be a big fuss at first, and then I suppose it will die down. But I bet when he was first made the Pope, I bet everybody wanted to talk to his brother. So we're going to have a look at one little interview with his brother, who lives in Port Charlotte in America, wherever that is.
As the new Pope Leo XIV walked out onto the balcony in the Vatican on Thursday, nobody here in Southwest Florida was cheering harder than his older brother Louis, who lives here in Port Charlotte. I'm Fox 4 Charlotte County community correspondent Alex Orenchuk, and I spoke with Louis about his little brother. He tells me he knew there was always something special about him, but he was still shocked he became the pontiff.
It was the moment the entire world was waiting for, but it came as a pretty big surprise for one Port Charlotte man. That's because the new Pope is none other than his brother.
Shock and awe. It was like, we knew, we heard him read the name, so we knew it was coming. And then to see him, it all hit home and became real. And it was like, oh, that's Rob. Oh my God, yay, Rob.
This is Louis Prevost. He's new Pope Leo XIV's oldest brother. He and former Cardinal Robert Prevost grew up in Chicago. He tells me they knew his brother was special at an early age.
We used to tease him about being Pope because he was always had that holy way about him. And it's like, and the neighbors on the street we grew up with, a lot of them used to say, "You're going to grow up to be Pope one day, Robert." And we're like, oh yeah, right. Our brother Pope, nah.
Prevost has lived in Port Charlotte for about 4 years with his wife, Deborah. He says he speaks to his brother about 2 to 3 times a week. He says they talked about his chances of becoming the pontiff before the conclave.
We talked a little bit about it, and I said, what happens if you win, if they vote for you? And he's like, well, are you going to accept it? I will accept it. It's God's will. I will do it. And I said, okay, that makes sense. It's in God's hands.
Prevost says it's bittersweet as the world gains a father. In a way, he loses a brother. He knows those phone calls will likely become few and far between now.
That's probably...
Yeah, it's sad, isn't it, really? As well as, it's great that he's become Pope. But yeah, you can't have, as I say, you can't have this sort of normal relationship, really, with the Pope. He probably hasn't had that normal relationship for a while because he's been he's been missionary, a bishop, he's been cardinal, and now he's the Pope.
Probably the worst thing about it is I'm standing here all day. I've been like, I wonder if we'll ever get to actually see him again and be with him and shake his hand and hug him, Yeah, I'm the Pope's brother, but it's hard to get in to see the Pope.
Still, he knows his little brother, now Pope Leo XIV, will do a great job leading the church.
He'll do a really good job at being Pope and all the things that entails, just because he's more of a man of the people, and he's been with the people all around the world in his worldly travels.
In Port Charlotte, Alex Orenchuk, Fox 4.
A man of the people. Good, 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 good. That's what we need, a man of the people. Right. Let me see, I've got another. So now we're going to watch this video. What we connect, this is from EWTN. And there seem to be some sort of world over. They seem to be sort of, maybe they're sort of experts in Catholicism. Anyway, this is like the other side of it. To me, watching this, I think, or that this euphoria from the Americans about him being an American Pope is not going to last long. Because, well, some Americans it will, but, you know, any American who is in favour of Trump and Vance, etc., they're not going to like this Pope, because this Pope is not going to support the policies, the current policies in America. So let's see. This is quite an interesting, gives you an interesting view of the right of the Catholic Church. Of course, they were hoping for a more right-wing Pope, which luckily we didn't get. So, hey. Shh. Habemos Papa. So, of course, Papa is Spanish. Well, it's Italian, isn't it? But it's the same in Spanish and Italian, believe it or not, are very similar languages. And normally when I'm listening to somebody speaking in Italian, I can understand what they're saying. I couldn't put a sentence together in Italian. I don't know anything about the grammar or construction of sentences, but it's very similar to Spanish, very, very similar. And you can more or less understand what somebody's saying when they're, because, Italian is one of the Romantic languages. It's based on Latin, as is Spanish. So there's a lot of similarities. Habemos Papa, that's probably Latin, is it? I don't know, but Latin and Spanish, because Spanish is derived from Latin. You know, if you did Latin at school, you know, when it was popular, Latin is a very useful language to learn other languages. It tells you the way it's, you know, the way the grammar is constructed, etc. So yeah, it's interesting. Habemos Papa, we have a Pope.
Election of Pope Leo XIV.
Oh, sorry,
Habemus Papam.
Joining me now with his thoughts and reflections on the election of Pope Leo XIV and his history of pastoral ministry in Peru is the founder of Word on Fire Ministries, the Bishop of Winona, Rochester, Bishop Robert Barron. Thank you so much for being
good
here.
To be with you.
What a joy to have you back. It's only been 12 years since I had you here around the table.
Right.
We heard much in recent days about the diversity of this College of Cardinals, the expansion of the church in Africa, Asia, the peripheries. I don't think anybody imagined that these cardinals would look to the periphery of America to elect Robert Provost.
I said
Leo
right here a few days ago.
Sorry, the Americans, they are absolutely over the moon about this American Pope, but I honestly don't think that's going to last long when they see his policies.
To go with Colin Flynn and going over candidates, and I said, with all my sage wisdom, they'll never elect in America. Everyone's playing that back to me now, So no, we didn't think that was going to happen.
Yeah, but it did. Why do you think they chose an American?
I think they chose the man, really. I mean, you look at him and you see this range of experience: administrator, canon lawyer, pastoral ministry, now dicastery experience, curial experience. I think when they saw that, and also him, I know him a little bit from the two synods. I was with him.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. I know you spent time with him.
Yeah, the last 2 Octobers. And the first time I met him, I went up to him and I said, "Oh, hello." I think he was cardinal by then. You reminisce. You just got a big job. Head of the dicastery. Little did I know a bigger job was coming. But, he's from Chicago. We grew up about 25.
Yeah, that's the other thing I don't really like about all this thing in the church. Your Eminence, You know, to me, if you believe in the Bible and you believe, you know, God said that other, you know, people, if you believe in the Bible, you either believe in it or you don't. You know, don't make don't make false images, gods in my image, etc. Calling people your eminence and stuff like that. I mean, I'm sure maybe they feel uncomfortable with it if they're genuinely humble people. But would you try? The sort of little problem I have with it is, would you try and advance in the church if you weren't interested in advancement? Do you know what I mean? Would you, if you were truly, truly humble, would you even be interested in being Pope? You know, why don't you just carry on with your missionary work? Or, you know, so there's definitely, there is a political ladder that they choose to go up. So that maybe it's for genuine reasons that they want to make a difference. You know, because being Pope, you have such a massive influence over millions of Catholics all over the world. You know, so you can make good things. You know, you can turn it into a positive thing. You know, years ago, of course, the popes, they wouldn't budge on anything. It was like, you know, no contraception, no this, no that, even though people in Africa were sort of having, you know, getting AIDS, and because they weren't allowed to use contraception, and having too many children and stuff like that. So, but now I do think the church has, thanks to popes like Francis, it has sort of changed a little bit, hasn't it? Now, there are some fundamental things that are never going to change, like the pro-life thing, and that there's no way that any pope is ever going to stand there and say that, you know, and speak against pro-life and things like that. But and I don't think marriage, gay marriage, will ever be. But it has been, you know, there have been kind of a more inclusive to, you know, accepting people's sexuality, and that's a good thing. Don't know about marriage, because there are some things that I think they just couldn't do or condone because they're tied to the Bible, aren't they? I suppose. I don't know. I mean, it may be in many years. I mean, progress. At the end of the day, it takes centuries for progress to be made, doesn't it? Certainly 1 century at least. So, you know, maybe bit by bit.
5 minutes from each other. He's only a few years older than I, so really from the same world in Chicago. So he's a good man. He's a soft-spoken, kind of self-contained, prayerful person. I think they saw all of that and they elected him.
Well, look, he was only a cardinal for 2 years,
right.
And he's only been here in Rome for 3.
Yeah.
How does that pastoral experience in Peru, how will that shape the Pope that we're about to get a glimpse of?
Oh, I think a lot. You know, I mean, there he is. He has the best of Pope Francis in him, the man that wanted to go to the margins, serve the hungry, the poor, the homeless, you know, the corporal works of mercy. His life was all about that in a very dedicated way. I think it's interesting. The last 2 popes have been religious. We have a Jesuit, now an Augustinian, and it gives a worldwide perspective, but also that, you know, basic commitment to the works of.
The last 2 popes have been religious, because one was a Jesuit, and this one is I can't remember what else it began with A. You know, I don't understand all those intricacies. To me, they're Catholics, aren't they? I mean, of course they're religious. How do you get to be a pope if you're not religious? So, I don't know. He obviously knows more about all this than I do.
Of mercy, I think will certainly shape his papacy.
I want to show the audience a glimpse of the Sistine Chapel Mass this morning, where he opened in English, probably the first time in history we've ever had a pope pronounce a homily at its start in English. Watch.
Through the ministry of Peter, you have called me to carry that cross and to be blessed with that mission. And I know I can rely on each and every one of you to walk with me as we continue as a church, as a community of friends of Jesus, as believers, to announce the good news, to announce the gospel.
Yeah, so he spoke in English. He did the first time that homily, whatever that is, was done in English. And of course, he has got an American accent.
What did you think when you heard him say that particularly, and the fact that it was being pronounced in American English?
Which is Chicago English.
Chicago.
Chicago
Yeah.
English.
No, but you know what I like is that we talk about political positions and this and that strategy and
Yeah,
so
yeah.
on. The Pope's job is to declare the resurrection. He's the successor of Peter. Peter came to Rome to declare the resurrection of Jesus from the dead. That's the Pope's job. So I love the fact that the first things he said basically are the gospel. And the gospel is not just, vague velleities about the political life. The gospel is good news, everybody. Jesus Christ rose from the dead. So that's the Pope's job, and that's the first thing he's done.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know about you. Maybe you don't find it interesting, but I found this really interesting because there's a lot I don't know about it. Now, this is the other thing that I don't really like. Look at this. These are just all men, old men. Come on. How are they going to make the church relevant? How are they going to make the church relevant? Look at that. Just the sea of old men. Then these are the people in the Vatican. There's very few women. There are some women. There is, I don't know. They do. There are some orders, aren't there? Nuns and things, but really, not practically nothing as far as women are concerned. Just this is the church. Maybe they should allow priests to marry. It would be apparently somebody was telling me, I can't remember who it was, that they used to be able to marry, but I don't know about that, if they did or not. They used to have wives. I know that they had concubines and stuff. I've watched the Borgias, the series. He was, of course, probably the most infamous pope, wasn't he, the Borgias? The popes, as far as they may still do. There might be a load of concubines in that Vatican. We don't know, do we? We don't know what goes on in there. But all I know is looking at that there, these are all the cardinals, are they? I don't even know who these are. But they're just all old men. What do they know about real life?
There was one moment there where he invoked the martyrdom of St. Ignatius of Antioch during that homily. And Bishop, your thoughts on that aspect of the Petrine ministry, which we rarely talk about. I mean, this square that we sit in front of, this is where St. Peter himself was crucified upside down and then buried like a mile further. But this is where it all happened. Connect the dots there for me.
I think about that all.
Oh, see, I didn't know that. This is where St. Peter was crucified upside down. There's so much I don't know. I mean, these guys are very knowledgeable, and it is interesting to listen to because it is history, isn't it? So St. Peter. Oh, and of course, do you know that they're about to make a new saint, aren't they? There's a young lad they were about to make him a saint, but of course then Pope Francis died. But I'm sure that's further down the line. There is going to be somebody made into a saint. It's it is all interesting.
All the time when I come here, this grand Renaissance piazza and everything. But right, Peter was brutally put to death, probably just over that way where the Circus of Nero was. They think the last thing he might have seen is that obelisk that's still here. Yeah. They dragged his body over to the Vatican Hill and threw him in the ground. It was remembered by the small Christian community all those centuries. That's Peter's witness. He gave his life to testify to the risen Christ, and that's the Pope's job. And it's a job unto death. It's a total dedication. Yeah. Peter, do you love me more than these? Yes, Lord, I do. Well, then feed my sheep. Peter, do you love me more than these? The 3 times the Lord compels Peter to say, yes, I love you. And, when you're a young man, you tied your own belt. When you're an old man, someone else will tie you up. But we saw exactly where they tied him up, right here. Yeah. So I think that should, in a positive way, kind of haunt the mind of every pope.
Yeah. Well, that's what I've been reminding people all week long. This isn't electing a prime minister or a president. Right. You are electing a successor of the apostle that's buried right here.
It's the most famous grave marker in the world. It's right behind us.
It's quite a grave marker.
Yeah.
Now, you've seen the reportage of Cardinal Prevost's tweets against Trump's deportation plans, some of his criticisms of J.D. Vance. Now, some are saying, aha, he's a woke pope. And then they find his vote.
The woke pope. The woke pope. Why do they have to bring it down to things like woke? It's nothing to do with that. He's a human he's telling people to be humanitarian. His parents were immigrants themselves. It's not because he's woke, it's because he's a normal human being. That's why. And I reckon these two guys here, they are definitely on the right, because wait till you hear what they have to say, not only about this, but about other things. They're keen because, they were so happy that he was American. Then they don't like the fact he spoke against Trump and Vance. So they're trying to talk around it.
Voter registration, and it's Republican, and others are saying he's a MAGA pope.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on all of this?
I think he adopts Catholic social teaching.
Exactly.
Which teaches, for example, that a country can defend its borders, can maintain its borders, and should exhibit an openness to the migrant who's in need, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
How you work out the precise details of that, well, that's a matter of political debate.
Yeah.
But I think he represents Catholic social teaching, not either Democratic or Republican political position.
Mm-hmm.
Look, he's a man that's been.
Look, any pope has got to be a socialist, really, just by the very nature of what you're doing. Social teaching is just talking around the fact that he's a socialist. Of course, you've got to be a socialist. You've got to believe in society, looking after the marginalized.
Spent a lot of time in Latin America. I'm sure he's got a deep sympathy for those who have, migrated to our country and all that.
Sure.
But no, I think it's Catholic.
Well, yeah, he'll have a deep sympathy because his own parents migrated from Peru. Now, they're not mentioning that. They don't mention that at all, that his own parents were migrants.
Social teaching and the name he chose, which to me is the most important thing we know right now about him.
Really?
Leo the 14th, clearly referencing Leo the 13th. It struck me, Raymond, that almost any other name of let's say Pope the last 100 years would have given away the game. I'm John Paul III. Oh, I know what you're about. I'm Francis II.
Yeah.
The fact that he didn't choose Francis II to me is very interesting. He goes back over 100 years to Leo the 13th, the great father of the modern Catholic social teaching tradition, which is neither conservative nor liberal. It's not Democratic or Republican. I think that's very hopeful. That's a bridge building move that he can make.
What if you had to give the Pope 3 must-do items starting now? What would those 3 items be? What's the most urgent need in the church today, Bishop?
First, I would say you are the sign and symbol of the unity of the church. And so I go back to someone like Johann Adam Müller in the 19th century. Before you get to anything juridical and all that, the Pope's job is to symbolize in his own person the unity of the church. That's job 1. Job 2, I would say, evangelization. Now, I'm seeing it from a more Western standpoint. It's different in Africa, different in Asia a bit. But I would still say evangelization, the great call of Vatican II, Paul VI, John Paul II, Benedict, Francis, all of them. Evangelize, evangelize, evangelize. And then I'll get a little practical. I think address the finances. And I think we might be underestimating the importance of that in the minds of the cardinals that elected him.
Yeah, did you know that the church, I suppose it makes sense really that they're having financial problems, but I don't think we'll really cry about them yet, will we? Because sell some of all that gold and what have you from the Vatican. You know what I mean? They're not exactly, they're not struggling to pay their next electricity bill, are they? So, I don't think I have much sympathy for the Vatican. That's the other thing. Now I'm going to go on it's everything wrong or opposite to what the teachings of the Bible are. Remember, it's always easier to fit a camel through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven, according to the Bible. So, it's like those riches or all that opulence is wrong. And that's something that Francis did as well. He wouldn't live in the apartments. His tomb is very simple. He didn't like all those trappings. But again, he wanted to be Pope. He wanted to be Pope. So he had to do some political machinations to get to be Pope. So, the papacy is political, whether you like it or not. Can you imagine what went on? What goes on? What went on in that conclave, all the machinations?
They might be looking to this American, experienced in administration, ran the entire Augustinian order, maybe to help them get the finances straightened out.
That's what I'm hearing from some of the
Really?
African cardinals and European
Yeah.
cardinals, that because they got that report. I mean, $400
Right.
million in debt. That's just the pensions.
Ooh.
$2 billion overall. That's a big hole to dig out of.
$2 billion in debt. Oh my God. Did you know that? I didn't know that. Yeah. Oh gosh. Maybe the Vatican will get repossessed.
What about the clarity of teaching? I mean, for the many blessings of Pope Francis, clarity of doctrine was not always his strong suit, because he would say one thing, which was correct,
Yeah.
and then he'd turn around and do something else. What must the Pope do to sort of clean up and have a unified voice coming from
Right.
Rome?
I'm a John Henry Newman man. Newman felt that the Pope's job was to act as a kind of referee, that the life of the church goes on, serving the poor, and then the life of prayer, the life of the intellectuals and so on. The Pope's job was occasionally to intervene, to say, no, wait a minute, that's going.
They're serving the poor. Is that really what the church does? Does it serve the poor? They sit there in opulence. These are the things that I'm not happy with about the church, and that is you sit in opulence, just looking at the the trappings of the Vatican and everything, all the gold and silver, and in churches everywhere. It's not really serving the poor, is it?
Gone too far.
Right.
No.
Sorry, and most churches are closed most of the time now, aren't they? I know that's not really the church's fault, because unfortunately, society, churches used to be open 24 hours a day. Could you imagine now? My God, in most cities and that, leaving the church open 24 hours a day, there'd be nothing left. I mean, they were even had the lead stolen off the roofs, didn't they? Never mind all the because most churches inside have got a lot of gold, haven't they, and stuff. I don't know if it's real gold in every church. I mean, I'm thinking if churches in Spain, they're beautiful. They're all beautiful because Spain is a Catholic country, so they're maintained. They're looked after, but they're not open 24 hours. There are no churches open 24 hours now because it'd be, they'd just get gutted, wouldn't they, I suppose? It's a shame, really, isn't it? And that's the breakdown of society, I think. Because, when I was young, nobody did. I know it's a cliche, but it's true. Maybe people weren't rich, didn't have loads of money, but they didn't go looting churches and all that kind of thing. I don't know what that's about, really. Some of it is desperation. I think some, people, but not everybody who robs is poor. A lot of these gangs that go out robbing and that, they got loads of money, from God. It's not that they just can't be asked getting a job to earn it. They just want to take it. Too many people think they can just take things, even from the church. You can't just take things. If you're not happy with the church and their riches and this, that, and the other, then you're supposed to try and make a difference, try and demonstrate against it or whatever. You don't just go and take it. That's not what you do, in my opinion, anyway. And these people that rob churches or rob any, so it's sort of made it where churches can't be open to take anybody in now, because they just can't be, because it'd be dangerous for the priests for a start, and it would be they'd just get everything. Could you imagine it? Oh my God, just be gutted within an hour.
You can't do that. And like a good referee, then get back off the court or off the field and say, all right, play.
Yeah.
But to intervene clearly and decisively when he had to, I think that is a key papal responsibility. If the referee isn't clear, that's why they wear black and white, by the way, because their job is to be very clear. It's black, or you're in or you're out.
Right.
It's fair or foul. If the Pope doesn't do that, we got some problem in the life of the church.
What about the synodal way? Do you think it'll continue? Should it continue in the
Well,
way it was started?
Yeah, I was involved in it. The two
Yeah.
synods. I saw a lot of virtues in it. The fact that it brought, the international church together. I like the fact that we were in conversation with each other. I like the fact, look, I'm a bishop of a diocese. If I don't listen to a wide variety of people, I'll make bad decisions. I'm having a synod in my diocese this coming summer. All of that I think was good. My problem with this.
Yeah, that's a good point you make, Claire, as well, because sometimes bad people use churches, don't they, or use religion. The thing is, in my opinion, and this is my opinion, and people can either agree with it, disagree with it. I believe in God. I don't believe in religion, but I don't really like religion. But I know that it helps a lot of people, so I have respect for everyone's religion, whatever religion it is. But if you do believe in God, which I do, then I think you have to believe in the devil. I don't think you can believe in one without the other. There's good and bad. It's like yin and yang, or whatever way you want to look at it. And even just in our normal lives, that's like a thing, like about the conscience, isn't it? We're always battling with our own conscience. Quite often, maybe, we think about doing something wrong, and sometimes we give in to that, don't we? We give into it. We do something that we know really we shouldn't do. I'm not talking about great big things like killing people. I'm talking about little things in everyday life. I'm just trying to think of an example, but think, I shouldn't really do that. Maybe telling a lie, or maybe, a little white lie. You still shouldn't do, really. But sometimes we give in to temptation. That's the whole basis of religion, really, life. Sometimes you do give in to temptation. And then you feel bad afterwards. Sometimes you don't feel bad, and then you feel guilty because you actually don't feel bad. You perhaps felt quite good, whatever you did. We're all human beings. We've all got our frailties. I've forgotten why I started saying that now. Oh, yeah. Unfortunately, a lot of bad people, like Peter Tobin, who, if anyone doesn't know, he was a serial killer in the UK, and he hid in churches. He would he would change his name, go and volunteer at a church, to help out, because he knew he'd get fed that way as well. And that's where he met one of his victims. And that's how he got caught in the end, because he'd gone and volunteered at a church and unfortunately killed one of the other volunteers at that church. So, sometimes people do bad things in the name of religion, don't they? Or in the name of the church. So the church, is the end of the day, I suppose the ethos of the church is to welcome everyone. But unfortunately, not everyone that you welcome is going to be a good person. But then, are you better to, the church's ethos, I suppose, is to welcome everybody. And if they get like a bad apple comes in, that's better than turning away, other people that may not have been bad apples. So it's a very difficult thing, isn't it? But sometimes, people do use religion as a cover, or churches as a cover for their badness. You see it a lot in America with these pastors. Remember Giant Prick Pastor, what's his? I can't remember. John Paul. What's his name? John Paul. Somebody. He's a pastor there. He's having influence over lots of people, and it turns out he's a really bad man. Not all. Just because somebody's a pastor, just the same as it because someone's a priest, doesn't mean to say they're a good person, because there are good and bad in all people. At the end of the day, and just being a priest or a pastor doesn't mean to say you're a good person.
Synod was, we almost seemed allergic at times to making a decision. So it was a lot of table conversation. What's your point of view? What's your point of view? And here's what I think. And if there was a move to correct, or to let's move to judgment, that almost seemed out of bounds. I thought that was a problem.
Yeah.
So yes, to listen to a wide variety of voices, but we've got to be decisive too in what we teach.
Do you feel it diffuses the bishop's authority when you suddenly invite all of us in, and we all get a say, and there's 2 bishops at the table and 10 laymen?
We did worry about that. I mean, so part of Catholic ecclesiology is the bishop has this charism of teaching.
Right.
And, we think that's something distinctive. So that did come in the minds of a lot of us at the synod. Now, there are about 300 bishops there, maybe 100 non-bishops.
Yeah.
But still, we wondered about the nature of that gathering. If you have the 300 with the clear charism of teaching and the 100 who don't, but we all have the same vote.
Right.
That was an issue that some of us had, yeah.
Well, we shall keep our eye on.
Okay, so that was just a little look at what people are saying about this next pope. But let's see if we've got any other sort of little short videos. Let's just watch this quick one from CBS.
Insight into this first American pope. Earlier this morning, we spoke with American Bishop Robert Barron. Bishop Barron, so good to talk to you. You're also from the Chicago area.
In decent traffic, which you never have in Chicago, but decent traffic, I'd be about 25 minutes where he grew up. And he's only a few years older than I, so we're the same cultural matrix we came out of.
How significant?
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about him being younger because he's 69, I think. Is he 69? So he's younger than popes normally are, but of course he's still, not young. They're never going to have a pope who's in his 20s, are they?
Significant is this?
I think it's extraordinarily significant. First of all, that no one expected it, and that's become the common thing now that we heard his name, but everyone said there's no way they'll ever elect an American. I think for the American church, it's super important. I talk about raising consciousness about the faith, about the church. The very fact that we have someone now that's coming from our own, cultural source, that's wonderful for evangelization.
What do you make of the name Pope Leo?
I think it's very significant. I was delighted when I heard it. Leo the 13th, he's referring to Leo the 13th, great 19th century pope. When the revolutions in the 18th century happened and when the philosophical revolutions, 19th century, the church initially said no to much of that. Leo represents a very nuanced, intelligent engagement with modernity, not caving into it, not saying yes completely, but not saying no, using the resources of our own tradition to engage modernity creatively. That makes him a bridge figure, very much so. When he talked about bridge building yesterday, but between liberals and conservatives, between those who are very suspicious of modernity, those who want to.
It's funny in America, isn't it? They have liberals and conservatives. They never have they would never use the word socialist, do they? Because it's too communist. But anyway, so is he a liberal or is he a conservative or is he in the middle or is he not any of those dogma? But anyway, yes, he's 69 years old. I just looked it up. Let's have a look. So he's a Virgo. His birthday is September the 14th, 1955. That was when he was born. And he is 69 years old. And he was born in Chicago. Chicago, Illinois. So let's just finish off listening to this. Only a short video.
Embrace it completely. Leo the 13th represented a very creative, intelligent engagement with modernity. I think that's what he was signaling by the name.
Bishop, when the new Pope Leo appeared on the balcony, he was wearing a red sash vestment, and he spoke in 3 languages, none of them English.
Not English.
How do you interpret those things?
I think the first was a gesture to traditional Catholics. I think a way of saying, sure, I'm a bridge to you too, because Francis famously comes out without the Mozzetta, without the stole, making his own, kind of statement thereby. But I think this Pope was saying, okay, I'm a bridge to more traditional Catholics. But I think he was just there as the shepherd of the church. The Pope's job is not so much getting into the nitty gritty of policymaking. That will come. His main role is to symbolize the unity of the church. And I think that's what he did beautifully yesterday.
There has also been reports about the financial problems at the Vatican and the need to fix that because they can't pay the pensions for many of the people that work inside the Vatican. He just happens to be a math major from Villanova.
I didn't know that. So that's something interesting that I didn't know. So, imagine they can't pay the pensions for the people that work in it. Because isn't the Vatican, right, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but Vatican City, is it a country of its own? Is it got its own separate from Italy? it doesn't follow Italian laws, or is Vatican City a complete sort of mini country? I don't know. I'm not saying it is. Something in my head is telling me that it's different. But yeah, so imagine you work there and then you weren't going to get your pension. Sorry, I'm not laughing because it's funny. It's a nervous laugh that I laugh sometimes with it. Imagine, working at the church, you couldn't get your pension. Well, what they need to do is sell some of their bloody some of their artifacts or whatever. But imagine if the electric bill went off. Sorry, I'm being facetious.
Apparently good governor of things.
Yes.
So how does that change things?
I think we underestimate the importance of that in the minds of the Cardinals. You're right, someone with a math background, but also an administrative background. He was a provincial superior in Chicago, then he was superior of the whole Augustinian order. That's a big job. Then very involved in curial affairs here as head of dicastery for bishops. I think they were, and maybe perhaps he's an American, and there's that sense of, well, maybe an American will have a better handle on the finances. I think we might be underestimating how important that was in the minds of the Cardinals.
President Trump tweeted congratulations, and he was thrilled that there was now an American Pope. He can't wait. He can't wait to meet him. Prior to Francis's death, the outgoing Pope Francis, there was a sense that the Vatican and the Trump administration had some political friction. And the new ambassador to the Holy See was seen as a critic of Francis. This appointment, the new Pope Leo, what do you think that means for the collision course that the administration and the church seem to be on at times?
I think this man is intelligent enough and spiritually alert enough to know that we can use Catholic social teaching to engage the American reality in a creative way. Catholic social teaching says a nation has a right to defend its borders. It doesn't recommend open borders and all that. At the same time, it recommends a deep compassion for and openness to the immigrant. So both those elements are at play in Catholic social teaching. Now, how that works itself out politically, we have to talk about it. I think he'll be bright enough to use our own social teaching to engage the American situation.
This return to the thought of social justice. Bishop Barron, so wonderful to
Really
talk
great.
to you. Another person from Chicago. It was great.
Chicago rules the world now, huh?
Midwest of America.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Oh, we're here in Chicago a lot, aren't we? The Chicago is going to be just, that like mentioned so many times. Right, so I'm trying to find out, is Vatican City? Yes, it is. It's a country. I thought it was. Let me just... Have you noticed now when you Google, you get the AI overview even above Wikipedia now? It's all AI now, isn't it? So yes, Wikipedia will be fuming. Vatican City is a country. It is a sovereign city-state and the smallest fully independent nation-state in the world. Located within Rome, Italy, it was established as an independent state in 1929 through the Lateran Treaty, whatever that is. Now let's have a look at Wikipedia. Yeah. A landlocked sovereign state and city-state completely surrounded by Rome, the capital of Italy, which it was historically a part. Now, I don't know why it became independent from Italy in 1929 with the Lateran Treaty. There's so much history here I do find, sorry if I'm boring you with it, but personally I find it really interesting to look. I like to know how things have become what they are. So it's governed by the Holy See, which is itself a sovereign entity under international law. Gosh. And the term Vatican is used as a metonym for the Pope, the Holy See, and the Roman Curia. God, all these things. In my long life, I've always had an interest in history and things, but I didn't know anything about this. There's always so much more that you don't know than you know, isn't there? So the Pope is the Bishop of Rome and head of the Catholic Church. Yeah. Now, of course, there's some. Might look into. There's a quite a big murder mystery case, isn't there, within the Vatican? Might look into that one day. Yeah. So there you go. It is. It's a separate country, apparently. Sorry, I think I took myself off the stage. Hang on. Yeah. Yeah. So it's interesting, isn't it? It's all interesting. Now then, I'm going in a minute. I'm going to go and start. I'm not sure what I'm going to make for lunch. I think I might try and cook something today, actually. I'm thinking of making some fish cakes, which, you know, normally I don't really cook because I don't have a lot of time to cook. But today I've got time. Oh, and number one son went out on Friday and he's still not back home. So I know he's okay because he has been back. He has been back here and there to, I don't know, change his clothes or I suppose get himself some more money or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, he's still out. So there you go. Because he's in between jobs at the moment. He starts his new job next week. Not Monday, but the Monday after. So he's trying to make the most of his time off. But yeah, 2 days he's been gone. Yeah, I was thinking that. David. Well, do you know, we've all been there, haven't we? I remember doing that. It's yeah, so I'm like, oh my God. I'm here babysitting the dogs and, you know, anyway, it's a long story about where, you know, I wasn't sure yesterday he was supposed to be doing something else, going somewhere. I didn't know if I'd have to give him a lift or not, so I couldn't make any plans because I did. Anyway, in the end, I just said to him, that's it. You know, I'm not going and don't ask me for a lift anywhere now. I'm going to relax now this weekend. But of course, I've not been able to make any plans for the weekend. But it's okay. I'm quite happy to be on here talking to you guys, cooking something nice, have a little vino. Yeah, and enjoy my Sunday. I've been binge watching You on Netflix. It's a good series, that. And last night I sat up watching it. And I didn't want to go to bed. I wanted to. I'm going to finish off watching that. You know, that's my exciting life. There was another series. Oh yeah, I've watched a couple of series on Netflix. Very interesting. I don't know what to do without Netflix. Yeah, don't. David, can you imagine? Probably will be. It'll be dogs barking, children crying. I mean, you know. Who knows? That may well be where he is or what he's doing. I hope he is. Anyway, it's ironic, really, because you're talking about, you look back, not even 6 months probably, and this boy hardly ever went out, really, except to the gym. Now he's never in, so it's quite nice. Saves me a fortune in food, because he's obviously buying food or getting food or made food somewhere else. So that's quite nice as well. And yeah, not making a mess generally in the house, but I do miss him though. It's funny, yesterday was funny because I wouldn't normally go sort of 2 days without seeing him, as much as he drives me mad sometimes. I did quite miss him. Oh, Claire, yeah, the olive oil, do you remember that? Was just about to start alive, and the bottle of olive, there's always something happens when I'm just about to start a live. It's been really calm today. Nothing's happened, has it? Oh, dear me. Nothing's happened so far today on this live. It's a bit worrying, isn't it? It's like, you think, oh my God, if it's not the dogs going mad, there's no bangers going off. Oh my God, what's going on? What's going on? I think it must be the Pope. Bless him. The Pope is sending me some good vibes, isn't he? Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you found that interesting. I find it interesting. Sometimes I feel like I make videos that I find interesting, but maybe nobody else does. I don't know. But, you know, it is interesting. It'd be interesting to see what happens with Leo. You know, all this euphoria about him being the first American Pope, I think that's already waning because he doesn't follow the sort of MAGA thing. I think he might be sort of outspoken in a quiet way. You know, sometimes people can do that, don't they? They don't have to be shouting loudly. They can say things in a quiet way. I hope he'll have that positive effect. You know, the world needs humanizing again, I think. There's just so much hatred in the world. You know, everybody hates everybody, don't they? You know, one way or another. It's men against women, Muslims against Christians, blacks against whites, or, you know, there's always all this sort of animosity and anger. And I don't like it, you know. Why I don't remember that when I was young. I mean, I'm sure there was some of it, but it's not as bad as now, where you can't even say boo without somebody jumping on you or shouting at you or being nasty. So yeah, let's hope he has. Yeah, it's the Pope's calming presence. Thank you, Pope. So I'm going to finish off with the song that Audacity sent in. Gets us all singing and makes us feel good. And yeah, get creative, my angel. Then you can send me in your pictures you make, and I'll show them on here. Okay, thank you so much. Love you all so much. I really do. Thank you. I may be back later. I'm planning on being back later. Problem is, I might have a little bit too much vino, and then I might not be able to come back, because I am going to get on the vino now. It's Sunday. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to cook some fish cakes. That's what I'm going to make. Been trying not to eat meat again, but you know, it's always difficult. Oh, there you go. There goes the barking. It's difficult not to. I know it's an excuse. It's just that if there was never any meat in the house, like when I was a vegetarian before, I was living on my own, you know, so I just didn't have any meat in. So it's easy not to eat it then if you haven't got it in. But when you've got it in, like for number one son or whatever, it's so tempting sometimes. But like I won't go out now and buy some. So I'm going to. So anyway, so I'm trying to avoid meat again, because I do think it's not very nice to eat meat. But anyway. Okay, I'll see you really soon in the next video, and until then, let me just put this video on. Hope you'll all sing along. Oh, I'll be singing it all day then. So bye. Oh, and may your God go with you. Have a great day, or afternoon, or evening. Oh, hang on.
Vicky Maria, so bright, so bright. Your YouTube world is the purest gold. With every video fresh and new, you light my days with joy so true. Oh, Vicky Maria, your voice, your charm, your spark, your flair, keep me glued beyond compare. From laughs to lessons, all you share. No other channel shines so rare. The comments buzz, your fans agree. We're all here for your energy. A loyal crowd, you're ahead of the game. So here's my thanks from me to you, for all the fun and wisdom too. Keep creating, stay the same. Vicky Marie, you've won the game. The comments buzz, your fans agree. We're all here for your energy. A loyal crowd, you're ahead of the game. So here's my thanks from me to you, for all the fun and wisdom too. Keep creating, stay the same. Vicky Marie, you won the game. Keep creating, stay the same. Vicky Marie, you've won the game.